Tell you what, if I don't get a haircut soon, I'm going to be getting a perm and auditioning for Queen lead guitarist. Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. We're live. I hope you're all doing well. It's the latest Manchester United news this morning, but also we've had an Ole Gunnar Solskjaer press conference. Hot off the press. He's literally just finished it, so we can give you the latest news on that, of course. But first of all, let's just say that essentially a very good press conference from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer again, which I think is also important, is always very important. The positivity, said some really good things about progression and where United are going and confidence. We'll get into that in a minute. But interesting things around the centre-backs. And look, there was a story I can bring. The great thing about that is you can merge what Ole said with some actual topical news as well. So ESPN last night was saying that Manchester United are interested in Rogbonelli from AC Milan, who's a centre-back, Nathan Ake from Bournemouth, and Tyrone Mings from Aston Villa. So that was a story from ESPN last night. Now, whatever you think about that, I think United, I'm going to do a show this afternoon about United's sort of like top 5 transfer targets, actually, and I think the centre-back needs to be within a certain price. However, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was asked about what he said to Nathan Ake at the weekend. I think it was Simon Cooper, James Cooper, sorry. I'm merging. Imagine what a journalist you'd get if you merged Simon Peach with James Cooper. Wow, I've just done it. But so basically he said, Ollie, lots been made of what you said to Nathan Ake and needing a left-sided centre-back after the game against Bournemouth. And Ollie said, I don't know what's being read into that. We've got 7 centre-backs, we're fine. Which basically is saying we're not in for Ake and we're not probably not signing a centre-back, which is what I've always felt, because I think with the centre-back thing, it's the realism, isn't it? It's realistically, how can you sign Sancho, a Grealish and a centre-back? I don't think United have got the money to do this. I'm sure Solskjaer would like a centre-back, but I think it's become very topical because of the way Maguire's been performing, the lack of pace at centre-back. I think it's a want, but I don't think it's what we will get. And interesting that he said, I've got 7 centre-backs, we're fine. Just on that, I just think that's a cover-up. And as Inzini says, Lingard is injured. There is an injury concern over Lindelof for the game against Aston Villa tomorrow. And I think that, again, highlights Manchester United's centre-back issues. Because when Ole says we're fine at centre-back, do you think we're fine at centre-back? Because I looked at the 7 and I thought, well, is he including Mengi, who's a young player who's never played? He can't be doing that. So the 7 centre-back options that he's got, and considering you need your centre-backs to complement each other, and we're talking about if you're going to play Harry Maguire, you need someone with a bit of pace. Listen to these names and tell me where the pace is and what their availability is. So from the 7 options he's got, Lindelof, well, he's not quick. Maguire, he's not quick. Twansebi has been injured for a year, and we don't know what his future's going to be. Phil Jones is not quick and not fit. Marcus Rojo, I mean, look, is he really the future of Manchester United? And again, not particularly quick and reliable. Eric Bailly, yeah, he is quick, but is he injury reliable? Is he good enough? And Chris Smalling, I don't think he'll be at the club. So out of those 7 centre-backs that we're fine with, I think you've got Lindelof, Maguire, Eric Bailly, that you'd think, well, yeah, we can use those. Jones, Rojo, Smalling won't be here next season, or shouldn't be here next season. And Twansebi, we just don't know what the situation is. I mean, it's a concern when a young player's out for a year with an injury. So I do think we need a centre-back, and I think Ole needs a centre-back, but I think he's just sort of putting it to bed there to say, look, we're fine with what we've got. I don't want a story about a centre-back circulating because I know I'm not going to get one. And I think that's the truth there. I don't think we're going to sign a centre-back. But I do think it is an area, especially very recently, that has become an issue. Welcome to Tim Jones, latest member of the United Stand Members Club. Thanks for everyone who is becoming a member and supporting the channel as well. Really appreciate that. You get your little badge next to your name there. Tim and Ricky Keeley, who's another member, says play Shaw there and Williams at left back. I mean, that is a good option actually, Ricky. I think Luke Shaw could fill in at left-sided centre back. And Ricardo Fidalgo says morning all, another member there. So yeah, I think that could happen. But then if you play Luke Shaw as a left-sided centre-back, you've got Brandon Williams at left-back. Who's your backup left-back? So, yeah, look, I think as I said, I think centre-back would be a nice area to improve, but it's probably not the priority this summer, although some might say that it is. What I really liked about what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said today in his press conference, and I am going to merge some topical stuff because there is a little bit around Chong and Pogba and Sancho that's come up as well. But what he was asked about was the confidence of the results that we're getting at the moment and how that feeds into the rest of the team. And he came out with a really good line that he didn't need to come out with. And basically he said, look, the 16-game unbeaten run that we're on at the moment, it's good for the team and it breeds belief and confidence. But a club like Manchester United should be doing far better than a 16-game unbeaten run. And I thought, wow, that is the sort of statement you want from your manager. Because if this is a manager who's like, bloody hell, I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to lose my job. I could have lost my job after Burnley. I'm going to lose my job, and now I've got a 16-game unbeaten run. I'm shaking. I'm so happy. And Ollie could really big that up. And I think this is the maturity of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as a manager. And I've always said when he took the job, when he got the job, I wanted him to get the job, but I said he's going to be naive and inexperienced by the fact that he's never had a job like this before. And Manchester United, to me, is one of the biggest jobs in the world. But I think we're seeing the growth of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as a manager now, because many a manager, like Mourinho, who's very experienced, would be talking about that 16-game unbeaten run and saying, this is the best I've ever done. I'm doing this with two hands tied behind my back and naked, and I'm on my own. So Mourinho would make a big deal of that. Solskjaer is not dismissing it. He's saying it's good, but he's saying we should be doing way better than a 16-game unbeaten run. Well, I'll tell you what, there's plenty of clubs in the Premier League who would love a 16-game unbeaten run. So I loved that from Solskjaer because it shows the passion and fight and hunger to be better than what we are. And also, he spoke about the race for top four. Leicester last night dropping points. Look, Arsenal, forget about it. How do you support a club like that, realistically? Banter. They should be Lacazette, the French Charlie Austin. You get all the AFTV lot moaning about VAR and this, that and the other, but not moaning about Lacazette and their crap manager's tactics at half-time. Bloody parks the bus with Arsenal's defence at 1-0 up. It should have been 3-0 up at half-time. Lacazette, Charlie Austin misses the chances. Half-time, what does Arteta try to do? He tries to defend with that defence. I mean, realistically, it's like taking on the Knights Templar with breadstick swords. You're gonna lose, and they did. Luckily, they didn't lose, but they drew. But Leicester still drop points, and that means that if we win all our games, goal difference is not relevant because we'll beat Leicester and then we'll be above them. So Solskjaer saying that as well. Look, the reality is, if we want to get Champions League football, it's in our hands, but we've got to win 5 games, which starts tomorrow against Aston Villa. And he spoke about Aston Villa, and he said, basically, look, I've done the preview for Aston Villa. Anything you want to know about Aston Villa is pretty much in there. But one thing Solskjaer did add in there, which was different to me, and I'm not going to say he's wrong. He did mention the fact that they defend well. He did mention that they're very good from set pieces. But he also said they're a very good counter-attacking side. Now, I don't think they are. And maybe Solskjaer's looking at a season view. I've not watched loads of Villa. I've watched a lot of Villa since lockdown. I don't think Villa are much of a threat on counter-attacks. I don't. I think that Villa look desperately short of goals, and I expect Man United to get a clean sheet tomorrow. I think our big problem tomorrow is hopefully scoring early and breaking their defence down. But Villa tomorrow, the result last night with Watford beating Norwich means that Villa are 4 points from safety with 5 games to go. They basically need to get something from United. I don't know whether they'll go gung-ho for a win, but they could do with a point to keep them 3 points away from safety, 1 win away. So I think Villa will hopefully come out a little bit more than they might have done. So that could play into our hands. But, he also spoke about Grealish and said that, look, Grealish is a player you've got to be aware of. He scored a good goal against us, and he is a player that creates space for others because people are attracted into him. So we've got to keep an eye on him. But I don't think it's an eye Manchester United massively need to keep on him, if I'm honest. We just had a super chat come in here. Let me just read it. It was from Anshaman, and he says, without pacey centre-backs, we'll get killed in counter-attack next season. Look, no, I do think that defence is good enough, but I don't think it's good enough to win a title because of the pace issue, which I would agree with. Sean Silver, one of our members, says, Ollie has got his mentality, and it's right, and it's what we need. Yeah, very impressed with Solskjaer again today. Also, a good question was about squad goals. Must have, are there players now that are, they've not played much game time in 3 months? And I suppose it's that question about what I was talking about on the preview as well. I mean, I've seen some people say it's not fair that Fred's not playing or McTominay's not playing. It's not fair on them, really. And I'm like, shut up, in a nice way. It's fair. If you want to win titles, it's the old saying, I've said it many times, winners go home with the prom queen, losers don't. And that's the thing. And the prom queen can be male or female. It doesn't matter. It can be the prom king or the prom queen. But the reality is, winners get first prize, losers don't. And if you want to be a winner, there's no time, as Queen said, no time for, not the prom queen, I'm talking about Queen the band. They've had 2 mentions like that. We are the champions, no time for losers because we are the champions. And that's it, there's no time for losers. And I'm not calling Fred and McTominay a loser by any sense, but what I'm saying is it is fair that they're not playing because Matic, Bruno and Pogba are better. But Ollie had a good answer as well, and he said, well, these players have had minutes. Everybody's had minutes since we've come back. You know, Mata has, McTominay has, Fred has. He's using the subs. They are getting minutes. They're just not starting games, which is fine. You know, everybody's hungry. Everyone wants to be part of it. Hope we see a good game from Pogba and Rashford, says Mr. Beast. And welcome to Ivan Ugan 95, latest member of the club. Thank you very much. Fred hasn't been given a chance, says Tyrone. I think you need to watch Manchester United, mate, because there'll be plenty of people in the live comments telling you that Fred started against Spurs. And I think he started against Norwich in the Cup as well. And we've only played 5 or 6 games since lockdown, so he started 2 games, hasn't filled himself. Look, I like Fred, but comparable to Matic, Bruno and Pogba, McTominay and Fred have had their chances and they didn't perform, so they must wait for their chance now. It's as simple as that, and they're a massive part of our squad. I'm going to mix in now some of Ollie's points with topical news. Mundo Deportivo are saying that Zidane wants Pogba this summer, but Mundo Deportivo is a Barcelona outlet, so I don't know what they're talking about Real Madrid for. And also Real Madrid, even in that article, they're saying Real Madrid can't get him for him. I mean, look, I don't want to. I don't listen to this. I don't expect this. I don't see this happening. I don't see it happening, and I hope we see less and less of these types of stories over the next few months. I mean, look, until we get Pogba to sign a new contract, and it's a big if, we will always get Pogba wants to go to Real Madrid or anything like that, but Pogba to leave Manchester United this summer, I think we can park that away and forget totally about it. So, not concerned about that. Another story, I think this came from the Transfer Podcast about... is it on the Transfer Podcast from Duncan Castles? There was a couple of stories yesterday, actually. He said that there's a bit of a Sancho war because of the price that Dortmund want to pay. But then there was also mention that United will only pay £50 million for every player. So I was a little bit confused about that. I actually do need to go and watch that again because I don't really grasp what's being said there. But what I would say in relation to Sancho is this, that there seems to me to be a real, what's the word? A real regurgitation or repetition of what we've known for 2 months. And look, I actually said it on a video 2 weeks before Fabrizio Romano came on because I'd been told it. But I'm happy for Romano to have it because he was on our channel when he said it. But I did say most of it a couple of weeks before, as many people will know. But when we had Fabrizio Romano on the show 2 months ago, he said, Sancho wants United. Not exclusively. It doesn't mean he wouldn't go anywhere else, but he would want to move to United. United want Sancho. They love Sancho. Terms between them isn't a problem. The deal with Dortmund is the mountain to climb. And that was 2 months ago on this channel from Fabrizio Romano. And all I ever keep seeing is the same story over and over again from tier 1 journalists or other journalists who are basically just repeating what we knew 2 or 3 months ago. That the Dortmund fee is what matters. United want him. Sancho will do the move. The terms aren't a problem. It's the fee with Dortmund. And people keep coming out with, oh, this is what's happening. United are in a war with Dortmund. And it's not. We're not in a war with Dortmund. We've just got to agree a fee. And when that fee's agreed, the deal will get done. But I find it repetitive. Look, we have to report it because that's what we do on the morning show. But it has been known for a very long time what the situation is. And to me, it's just like, look, it's like polishing, well, I don't want to call him a turd, but it's just like putting the same person in a different dress. It's still the same person. Oh, look at him in this dress. It's the same person. Like, and I'm not putting Sancho in a dress either. I'm just saying this story keeps getting dressed up differently, but actually it's the same story. Fred hasn't played behind Pogba and Bruno, says Tyron from. Look, I like Fred. I'm just going to say this. I like Fred, but if you're telling me Fred should play ahead of Matic at the moment, then he's going to have to wait for his chance because Matic is playing very, very well at the moment. And I would love Fred to develop into that. I really would. But at the moment, it's got to be Matic, Bruno and Pogba. Addy says, hey Mark, only Jadon Sancho or Grealish and Traore. For me, I would still go just Sancho on that one. So that's that story. Also a very good story from Stretty News. They had a good interview with Jonathan Bartlett, who is the agent of Jack Grealish, Gareth Bale, and I didn't realise this, Tahith Chong. And he said about Chong that he expects him to go on loan next season. Remember, Chong did sign the contract. He was out of contract like Gomez, but he did sign a contract with Manchester United. So expect him to go on loan next season. And I'm looking forward to seeing him going on loan next season because he needs first-team football and he won't get it at Manchester United. There was also an interesting story as well I want to talk about. But let's go back to some of the stuff that Ollie was talking about. Basically, he was asked a question about... I don't know what the question was, actually. I didn't really understand what the question was, but I liked Solskjaer's answer. And it was along the lines of, you made some big decisions a year ago. Do you feel justified in those decisions? And again, he went, look, it's not a popularity contest. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to do what I think's right for Manchester United. And again, I love this. Because we've had two managers who were about popularity. Mourinho and Van Gaal were very egotistical. Solskjaer's not. Solskjaer's focus is Manchester United. And that's all we ever wanted as fans. We had it with Sir Alex Ferguson. Sir Alex Ferguson was not egotistical. He was just a driven, vocal person who people thought were arrogant. But actually his focus was Manchester United. It was always that. He always understood that United were bigger than him. I don't know that Van Gaal and Mourinho did that. But Ollie does. And it's very refreshing. So he answered the question and said, look, it's not about egos. It's not about popularity. I look at what I've done over the last year. The ins and outs. Developing youth, but also, giving respect to those people that have been here a while, good servants to the club that you can trust. And I wouldn't change anything I've done over the last 12 months. And I thought that was, no regrets at the end of the day. And that's quite a big statement to say because it's backing yourself, but it's also saying that There probably has been mistakes over the last 12 months. We could all list some, but there's also been big successes in there. And it would have been easy again for him to say, look, you know what? Maybe I would have done things differently around this or that. Maybe I would have liked to have given a few more minutes to the youth. But he stood by what he's done. And, I think that's always a good sign in a manager because it shows that, look, he definitely has made mistakes. Solskjaer can't sit there and say, I've got no regrets on what I've done because everything I've done is great. He's saying I've got no regrets because... ultimately, I've always felt what I did was right for Manchester United, whether that's ins or outs of the club. So that was good and refreshing to see as well from Solskjaer. Obviously, he mentioned about Lindelof potentially being out the game tomorrow as well, which I think is... if Lindelof doesn't play, I think Eric Bailly will play. So, and as I just said there, should Lindelof not be rested anyway? That's quite... that is quite a question. I think... Look, what I would say about Eric Bailly, I know that people like Ricky and a lot of you are unsure about him. I mean, Eric Bailly, when you actually break his game down, I don't think it's been good enough. But you've also got to say, can he not be afforded what Harry Maguire's being afforded? Harry Maguire's made two glaring errors since we've come back from lockdown, like terrible errors. And Eric Bailly has looked rusty. And he has been, even I've said he just doesn't look good enough. But I actually thought about this morning. With Eric Bailly, should we not actually... maybe tomorrow with Lindelof out, if he does play, maybe he doesn't play great, but then the next game he plays and he plays better. Maybe Eric Bailly's a bit like Fred, that he needs a run of games. One thing I would say about Eric Bailly is that when he has played well for United, he's aerially very good and he is quick. So he gives you that. My concerns about Eric Bailly when I watch him is his running lines are very weird when he's defending. He almost runs away from the player with the ball, and I don't get that. I'm not convinced that Eric Bailly's football intelligence as a centre-back is as good as it needs to be. And I don't know whether we can coach that of a player who's in his mid-20s. That's my concern. But maybe a run of games he gets better and better. The one thing about Eric Bailly I would do, and I think Ollie will do it, is simplify your game, Eric. Like, trying to control that bad pass by Matic. Just head it away. Doing little Cruyff turns in the box. It comes off, it looks great, but actually, just get it away. You're a centre-back. Your job is to clear the danger... if you're in the opposition's penalty box from a corner and you want to do a Cruyff turn, the damage isn't going to cause us problems. But Sonia says Bailly's dodgy. I think at the moment he is, but maybe a few games he could come good. Also, you've still got the injury. Look, I don't think Bailly's our solution long term, but if Lindelof is injured tomorrow, then that's the road we're going to go down. Lots of people watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you're new. Bottom right hand corner. And smash a like on the video if you're watching live, please. Right, the story I was going to talk to you about was, I believe it was in The Independent. And this, don't get too excited, but I'll tell you what it was. I think it was The Independent or The Telegraph. It was one of the two. Apologies for not getting it accurate, but ultimately they're probably both about the same in relation to reliability. I wouldn't bet your house on it, but I wouldn't say it's total nonsense either. They're basically saying that if David Moyes stays up, then with West Ham, then Lingard and Phil Jones are on his shopping list. So that to me is quite, look, that's like Alexis Sanchez being sold to Newcastle for 20 million. It could happen, but is it going to happen? But as I said, and I think I said this on That's Football last night when I was doing the watch-alongs, I think Jesse Lingard at West Ham isn't, I don't think we should be like saying, oh, let's get the taxi fare, we'll drive them there ourselves. I think do I think Jesse Lingard's good enough to be on United's bench at the moment? Well, he hasn't been for the last 2 games. I mean, it's a toss of a coin between him and Pereira. I think Pereira should be on the bench ahead of Lingard tomorrow because of what he did on Twitter. I'd almost give him a start. I'm joking. But no, I think that Lingard is clearly not good enough to be in the first team. If we're saying Fred and McTominay and Williams and Ighalo probably would deserve a run out in different circumstances but aren't good enough at the moment, then people like Lingard and Pereira, they're nowhere near it. So, but can Lingard be an asset for West Ham? I mean, have you seen West Ham this season? I don't think Jesse Lingard's terrible. I just don't think he's a top 4 player. I always said that I think Lingard could, West Ham for Lingard would be a really good move. He played in a World Cup semi-final a couple of years ago. He was an England regular. West Ham, lower expectations, probably around the same wage he's on now. Decent move for him. I think for Lingard, there will be people saying, oh yeah, West Ham, please take him. I would say West Ham, please take him because it would give us money for our transfer budget. But also I think it would be nice to see Lingard in the Premier League still, keeping an eye on him, wishing him well. So, and I think he could be a good signing for a West Ham or a Newcastle or an Everton or a Watford. Maybe even a Leicester. I think Lingard can do a job at that level. So I'd like to see that happen. As for Phil Jones, look, if he wants, if Moyes thinks that Phil Jones can do a job for him, and again, maybe he could, then I will definitely pay for the taxi fare for that. But I would be very happy with that one, to be honest. I would be very happy with that one if it happens, and we'll see how it goes. Apparently Fabrizio has tweeted, not recently, he tweeted last night, basically, Sam Pilger, who I think is a journalist for 442 and Athletic and Bleacher Report, he'd said that Jadon Sancho is moving closer to a United deal. Dortmund are willing sellers, the player wants the move and personal terms are not a problem. It's now about agreeing a fee for both clubs that they can be happy with. Maria_United said, added absolutely nothing there, Sam. Romano said this 2 months ago on the United stand. To which Fabrizio reminded, they're waiting for club talks. Sancho would like to join Manchester United, so his contract will not be a problem. So yeah, Fabrizio Romano, basically, fair play Fabrizio Romano, he's basically saying what I said 10 minutes ago. There is a lot of repetition with people who are decent journalists going, United and Sancho, they want each other and it's now about doing the deal with Dortmund. And fair play, Fabrizio said on this show 2 months ago exactly that. And there is a lot of repetition about it. I agree with you, Mark, but the Hammers hate my merch, says Jesse Lingard. Thoughts on Ragnagnelli from Milan, says Subem. I mean, look, he's good. He is good. And he is a player that's, been mentioned around United for a couple of years now. I would say we've got next to no chance of that happening. I just don't see United signing Ragnagnelli or Koulibaly, or I think maybe a Tyrone Mings, maybe a Nathan Ake. Maybe that could happen because both will get relegated and they might be cheap. And I think that's what maybe United. I wouldn't say we're not signing a centre back, but I think it's unlikely. And I think if we were going to buy one, we're probably going to do it in a cheaper fashion. But look, I'm doing a video. It's going to go up at about 2 o'clock today. And I'll be talking about centre-backs in that. And obviously I'll be back at 8 o'clock tonight as well. So thanks everyone for watching anyway. That's your Ollie press conference reaction. Top 4 race is definitely on. If we win our last 5 games, we will get top 4. And but I don't think it will be easy. I watched Palace last night. They should have got a draw against Chelsea. You know, that last minute header probably goes in against us, and they do get a draw. West Ham, interesting game. Southampton, interesting game. Leicester will be an interesting game. So we've got to win tomorrow, and if we keep playing like we are, we can win our last 5 games. I said we'd get third. I still think Chelsea, playing Liverpool and Wolves in their last 2 games, are where they can drop points. But we still need to win all ours, and that is the challenge for United. Thanks everyone for watching. Smash a like on video, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you later on this afternoon, and then again at 8 o'clock tonight. Have a good day.